Hey, how's everybody doing? I am Brett Darby. I'm an account director here with SellerLabs. We're going to hold in a holding pattern for a couple minutes while we wait for more attendees to show up. Joined here by my counterpart, Edward Ruffin. Just wanted to kind of get some banter and talking with you guys and learn a little bit about what you've been doing. Obviously, the topic today is going to be Prime Day. So we're going to be focused on that. Definitely really excited for this year's Prime Day, or Prime Week, I should say.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and ask a couple questions. The first I want to know, do we have any first-time attendees? Is this your first webinar with SellerLabs?
And it's okay. You don't have to be shy. Let us know. We're just curious. We love seeing all the new timers come in.
Awesome. Great. Seeing a couple yeses, quite a few yeses, actually.
Yeah. Great. Love to hear it, guys. And also, if you can also put over there where you're joining from. We're curious where everybody's joining from. We love seeing, if it's just US, overseas, we love hearing all that as well. Wow, look at
England.
that. England, man, yeah.
Colorado, a couple from Colorado so far, I've seen. California as well.
Wow.
Poland, great. Oh, yeah. So, we'd love to know where you guys are from, but I also want to know who's done Prime Day before. How many of you were selling last year and did some discounts or some deals or any sort of special promotion for Prime Day?
Love it.
See a raised hand right there.
There we go.
I think it's probably pretty likely, Ed, that if you were selling last year, you probably did something. And if you didn't, you at least kind of saw that it was a big influx of traffic, a lot more eyes on pages, a lot more searchers, and a lot more people purchasing.
It's definitely a great time to really jump on it, even to do some type of promotions like we'll talk about, but also just being ready for that extra influx of traffic. And it happens every year. And every year we always get excited about it because we know there's going to be a lot more eyes on Amazon. And you have to really take advantage of that. So that's what we're really diving into today.
Perfect. And so I'm curious to see also how many people have a lightning deal or any sort of a deal approved by Amazon for this Prime Day or Prime Week? Anybody with any sort of special promotion? Another raised hand. Ariel. Great. Okay. Not yet. Well, there have been some cutoffs already for Prime Day. Definitely, if you're just joining us and you're thinking about doing something, there might be some restrictions that aren't going to allow you to do lightning deals. You could still likely do some other types of promotions or discounts. But I'm excited to learn a little bit more about what all you are planning to do. Who's going to be doing some special just discounts? They're just doing a sale price, or they're doing some sort of a promotion where they're just adjusting their price.
There we go. Yeah. Coming just a little bit faster.
Yeah. Okay. Quite a few. Yeah. And, lightning deals are sometimes tough. You have to plan well in advance. There's a little uncertainty as to whether or not they'll work for you. So if you don't have experience with them, sometimes just doing some price discounts or coupons might be your go-to method. That's really great.
A little bit of edge really helps out. Make sure you're kind of differentiating from other normal priced items.
Absolutely. And Ed, you're exactly right on that. There's a number of other sellers doing something similar. So if you're not kind of following suit, odds are you're not being as competitive. And you're probably going to see your conversion rate drops a little bit on that day.
Right. Well, I guess we can get right to it now. I think we have most people join. More people are joining too. And that's always wonderful to see. We'll go ahead and dive right into the presentation. Hope you guys are ready because it's great information. Brett and I have been really nerding out over this presentation, going a little extra step than normal when it comes to talking about Prime Day. So as you guys know, or as you do now, my name is Edward Ruffin, and this is Brett Darby. We are both account directors for the SellerLabs Managed Services team. So we actually work on people's accounts all day, every day. We help them with their advertising. We have a full team of employees that are wonderful and really hard workers that make sure that the PPC campaigns that they have running are optimized. And we also go a little step further by helping out to make sure that the listings are set up for the advertisements that they're running, and also just make sure that they're getting the traffic that they really need. I've been working with the team for quite some time now, and I was one of the original founders. I'm glad to say, and it's come quite a long way. So you've seen a few Prime Days, and I think this year's will be one of the best. But I say that about every Prime Day, and I think everybody does as well.
Yeah, and likewise, like Ed said, I'm also an account director here with SellerLabs Managed Services. For those of you who don't know what it is, Managed Services is essentially a white glove service where we handle your advertising for you on Amazon. We really focus in on Amazon because we're specialists in that area and we understand it well. So there's people that do Google and there's people that do Amazon. We like to focus in on that bread and butter there. But definitely, Ed, I'm really excited to get into the Prime Day stuff. So let's go ahead and just roll right into this.
Yeah, let's do it. So, things to expect that we're going to go over today, really three main topics. And the first one is, some insights from past Prime Days. Like I said, we've been through, a few of them. We understand what can happen during those times. So we're going to talk about that and show what we've really learned from those previous Prime Days to begin with.
Absolutely. There's a number of different approaches that you can use. There's a number of different strategies you can use. And they're going to run across the board in terms of advertising strategies, promotional strategies, just traffic strategies to drive awareness for a product. So we're going to try and touch on the ones that we understand well and can help you with. And then give you a couple insights, a couple specific strategies towards the end here that are going to give you insight into what you should be doing if you're running coupons or if you're doing any sort of a lightning deal.
Right, exactly. And this is great because we're kind of taking the knowledge that we know of what can happen and what may have gone wrong in the past few Prime Days as well, and showing you how we've learned from that, whether it's like, a client account or actually Brett himself has some stories that he'll be telling you. So the story time will be coming, guys, and it's wonderful. He has some great insight onto what to not do for Prime Day.
Yep, perfect. So let's go ahead and go into it. So one of the things that we want to talk about first from past Prime Days is what does the most successful product look like? What are those products? And there's a couple common threads that go through them. When we're looking back at 2017 and 2018, some of the most successful items are very mass market appealing items. They're the Instapots. They are some of Amazon's own products, the Kindles, the Audible subscriptions, discounts to their music service, as well as, big brands like Bose running some big deals in Sennheiser. And then there's a number of other products that fit in there as well. LifeStraw was a huge one last year. They had some very successful deals. But Ed, go ahead and step forward. Let's go ahead and look at what are the characteristics of those products that do well. So when we look back at the past Prime Days, one of the biggest things we do see is that mass market appeal.
Oh, yeah.
Really, it's a product that the majority of people want. Most people cook food from time to time. You can't always eat out. So they're going to want something that can help them with that. And so, that's a perfect example there with the Instant Pot. It's got mass market appeal. A lot of people would be interested in purchasing that. Same thing with any of the consumer electronics that we were just talking about, the Alexas and any of those items. A lot of people are going to want it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and on top of that, people want it. People are really looking to buy those products, but it's also because they're trending. They're popular. They're products that have been selling. The brand is recognized, and there's product awareness. And that's something that shows across all those products and those services that we just showed. Is just because people know what it is. They know why they want it. They've seen it before. They know what it does. They know what the appeal is behind it, because that awareness has already been built out a lot before Prime Day comes up. So that's one thing to keep in mind, is it does involve a lot of the sales that happen beforehand, and a lot of the brand awareness has been built up before Prime Day happens.
Exactly, Ed. And I think that's one thing that's oftentimes overlooked is you have to have some successful trajectory already. You need a history of sales. You need to kind of have some reviews. It's really not a great day to be trying to promote a newer product. It's really, If you're launching something right now, you're going to maybe think about doing a deal next year, but this year might not be great for you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And something else, with this is, these products are being offered with discounts and coupons. Just like you said already, Brett, is, you have to be ready to get these coupons, get these discounts up and running, because you have to set yourself apart from other people that are not doing it. Or even if they are doing it, you have to be competitive with that. And a lot of these companies, a lot of these brands, they're using those discounts and coupons to build that brand awareness. And on top of that, what do you know? They're running advertising campaigns, which is our favorite thing in the world. So they're using a combination of both of those to build that product and brand awareness. People understand what the product is, what it does, and it really makes them want it. It builds up that appeal. So that way it does become a top product over time.
Yeah, and one common theme here, or thread through all of these, is that anyone can really provide a discount or a coupon to their product and incentivize customers to want to purchase that product more. If you've been thinking or considering purchasing something for a little while, and you finally see that there's a deal on it or a discount, it's just going to maybe nudge you a little bit more to want to actually put it in your cart and check out. I know I've been there last Prime Day looking at a big hot ticket item, finally pulled the trigger and bought it. And, just a little 10% discount was actually what incentivized me.
Oh, yeah.
But really anyone can go apply these. You might not be able to change the appeal of your item and make it applicable to a larger audience. And you might not be able to give it as successful of, brand awareness or product awareness right now. But you can definitely do things to just give yourself a little bit of a competitive edge or stay competitive during Prime Day.
Yeah, definitely. Just like you said, just that little push, even just like 10% off. I'm like, man, I've wanted this for a while. That's a great deal in my book because I've wanted it for so long. I know what that product is, and man, I've just been watching it. And a lot of people do watch these products maybe up until Prime Day. They're waiting to see if it does go on sale. Then they go ahead and pull the trigger and purchase it right then and there.
I do that myself, Ed. I wait, and I'm kind of in a consideration phase up until the point of Prime Day. And, if I'm looking at a new laptop, if I'm looking for a TV or anything, I'm going to wait until, a couple weeks before when I start doing some research. But I'm not going to buy it right away. Sometimes I see an okay deal, but I'm going to wait and just kind of gamble on it and see if I can get a better deal if I wait. And I think a lot of consumers are like that right now. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, people at the office actually make fun of me because I love a good deal. And I think that's really going to show a lot during Prime Days. So everybody just be ready to see me love the good deals that come through.
Great. So what can you do? The first thing is really focusing in on your best-selling items. Like we said, Prime Day is not a great day for you to really push your new item or your new version of a product. It's a great day to capitalize on volume and sell a lot more of items that already sell very well and are very successful. So when you're going through your business reports or you're looking through any of your historical sales data to figure out what to focus on, try and lean towards those strong conversion rate and high traffic items that are already doing well. They're going to kind of already have that trend where there's some product and brand awareness and there's demand for them. And so you just have to be able to meet that supply at a competitive rate.
Yeah. And on top of that, you have to provide a compelling reason to buy. You have to stick out. You have to have some type of reason to convert people, to your listing to complete that purchase. And that's a discount, a promotion, a coupon. Yes, there is going to be a lot of extra traffic on Prime Day, but that's not guaranteeing that you're going to get a sale because there's going to be a lot more traffic, and that means a lot more competition is going to be going on. A lot more people will be looking at other similar products. They may go to Amazon knowing exactly what type of product they want. It just comes down to choosing the brand. So you have to provide some type of a discount, a promotion that's going on, or even just, a coupon on a certain product to help convince people to really pull the trigger on that purchase, just like we were just talking about.
Yeah. And the most important factor here is going to be that you've got some visibility. There's an influx of traffic on Prime Week and Prime Day. A lot of that traffic lends itself towards those deal pages, people looking through all the coupons that are available, all the lightning deals that are available. And Amazon's done a really good job of merchandising those pages. But nevertheless, once somebody's already found something and they're ready to purchase it, oftentimes they're going to think about what else they might need and try and consolidate those orders as well. I did this. I put a big ticket item in my cart and was ready to check out. And I realized I needed some Post-it notes and I needed a whiteboard for my office. And so I went and looked for those as well. And so just because your item doesn't lend itself to being one of the most mass market appeal items or the most in demand for that particular week, it definitely does mean that there's still opportunities to increase your sales by just focusing on top of search brand awareness and keeping your product relevant in front of consumers. So definitely run some PPC campaigns to make sure you're staying in front of the consumers that are searching for something else.
Yeah, and combining those are huge. Driving traffic to a listing that has a discount, promotion, or coupon on it, it's just a match made in heaven because you're getting that traffic, then you're converting it. So, it's best if you have both of those at the same time for all Prime Day. Like just have those up and running and be ready to capitalize on that traffic that you have coming in too.
Yeah, and we had a question come through, Ed, I want to touch on right before we go to successful listings. How much more percentage-wise should you be spending during Prime Day? And that's really highly dependent upon your item's demand to begin with. Yeah. I can't give you just a blanket answer. In some cases, it's going to be 2x. In other cases, it might be 5x. And I've been fortunate enough to work with sellers where they kind of run the gamut in terms of the types of products they sell. They're all across every product vertical you can imagine. And so that's really going to vary highly depending upon what it is. It's going to be unique for clothing and apparel, and it's going to be unique for consumer electronics or anything like that. Definitely going to want to fund it based on what you're seeing leading up to Prime Day. So run some campaigns in advance and think forward about what you should be spending.
Right. And that really brings us, kind of in a way to our next topic, which is, okay, you have the traffic, you have the discount, but the biggest thing is, how's your listing? And the question to ask is, what makes a successful listing? And really, all you can really do is, you can say, are your listings retail ready? And most of you may not actually know what this term is. This is an Amazon term that they use to see if your listing is ready to be advertised or ready to have a lot of traffic pushed towards it. And I want to thank Brett for this beautiful picture, because it really is just as simple. Either you're not retail ready or you are. And luckily for everybody else, we did actually make a checklist that shows exactly what's needed to be retail ready.
Perfect. Yeah. And, this is a simple checklist. You can go more detailed depending upon what you need. But really, the first step is figuring out, do you actually have enough fulfillable inventory? You got to make sure you have it available, and it's not something where it's going to take a few weeks to get there. I've run into my own nightmares with trying to get things to Amazon in time. I'm sure many of you have. And so you've got to make sure that you forecast it out. And there's certain deadlines you're going to need to meet with getting inventory to Amazon to be successful. If you're using Seller Fulfilled Prime, the strategy is a little bit different. But generally, you're going to want to make sure you have enough inventory to feed any deal you're doing.
Right. And then next, you have to really ask, am I winning the buy box? If you're not winning the buy box, you're not really able to control the PPC or advertising at all. And that traffic may be going to someone else's product that's on the same listing. So you want to make sure that you are winning the buy box. It's simple. It's easy to check. You can also look at this in some of your reporting as well, because if you're winning the buy box and you can really control that listing, you have a lot more that you can do. And you have a much higher chance to get those conversions, and you can control those ads, and you can actually drive traffic successfully to that listing.
Yep. And if you're not sure how to check this, it's really simple. Log into Seller Central, go to your business reports, go to the sales and traffic by child item, or just sales and traffic by date or ASIN, and you'll see a column there that says buy box percentage. And essentially that is the percentage of the time that you have the buy box. If you see a really low percentage, sub 50% or below, odds are you're not winning that buy box enough to really be competitive for a big Prime Day deal or anything. Fortunately, a lot of sellers I think that we talk to are brand registered. They have their own private label brand, and so it's not as big of a concern for them. But if you are a reseller, be cognizant of that.
Right.
One of the other factors you have to look at is your reviews. Do you have a sufficient review rate or rating, and do you have enough quantity of reviews? And there's an anecdote that I've been told that I feel is fairly true, Ed, and I know you and I have talked about this before. It's that if you have a negative review, it takes on average 10 to 20 positive reviews to counteract the negative effect of that review. So if you have a review that shows up towards the top, a 1-star saying not advertised or not as advertised, or there's something wrong, it broke, especially if it's a picture review, those can really be damaging to a listing. And it takes a lot of counteracting from some positive social proof to get rid of the weight that negative one carries.
Yeah, and that really brings up a great point, about that is when there's a picture review, I think that is way heavier than just a normal review. And I am very guilty of this. The first thing I look at on every listing is the pictures left by people that have done reviews, because that a picture speaks 1,000 words and it goes a long way. So I want you to say that one more time, Brett. What was that stat that you said about how many reviews you need to make up for a bad review? How many good reviews do you need for that?
Yeah, in general, it's going to take 10 to 20 positive reviews. That means like 4 or 5-star reviews to counteract a single 1 or 2-star review.
Yeah, and
it's
crazy.
Yeah,
it makes sense. It makes
astounding.
100% sense. It does, and that's kind of the next thing on this checklist is something that you can do to prevent those bad reviews. Possibly is making sure that your images, your title, and your bullet points are optimized. What you should be doing is you should be making it as clear as possible to what your product is, what it does, all of its features. You should be looking at reviews that are left and adding, things from that into your listing. Any questions that are asked, add those to your listing. You should answer any questions that anybody has about your product before they actually ask it on your listing. And this is something that you should do no matter what time of the year it is, but especially for Prime Day. Look at your images. Do they make sense? Do you have, quite a bit of those that actually show what the product is, and is it accurate? Make sure you have a strong title that really, points out what the item is, and just your brand, especially if you're trying to push your brand. And the bullet points are so important too, because you have to include as much information in those as you can. But of course, don't make them all jargled up because there's just too many words in there. Make sure they're easy to understand, follow, and read. And that can lead to even better reviews because you're explaining what the product is. People know what it is before they buy it. They don't have to leave a bad review. They're leaving positive reviews because they're just so blown away at how accurate the listing was for the product.
Absolutely. And beyond that, to expound on that, I think we're going to give a little bit of a insight into how you can kind of do a sanity check on your listing in a minute. But you really have to make sure you're also utilizing enhanced brand content if you're brand registered and eligible. I think that that's a huge advantage for sellers to be able to, graphically depict the tangible benefits of their product to a consumer. And one of the often overlooked things is that it actually can give you better placement on the mobile app as well. By default, the description and the bullet points are oftentimes collapsed or hidden when you go visit something on the mobile app. And when you have enhanced brand content, generally speaking, across most categories, it's going to show by default on that detail page. And so that's just a huge advantage for somebody to be able to quickly scroll through and see what you're trying to convey to that consumer without having to do a lot of digging on their own.
Yeah. And it increases the speed that they actually buy that product, that the conversions come through. So that really helps out. They don't have to think as much about the purchase because they've done their research right there on the listing with that enhanced brand content. And something else is you have to make sure you have quality deals and promotions. I'm going to say it again, quality deals and promotions. Because you don't want to have a very, very small deal or a discount that's just not enough to entice people to buy your product. You don't want to have just 5%. You want to have something a little more competitive, something that will set you apart. Like we've said multiple times already in this webinar, you want to have it to where you're competitive with that. You want to stick out. You want to have people make up their mind because they've been watching it or they just see it for the first time and they're like, wow, 15% off, that is a great deal. It doesn't make sense, to wait to buy this product. This is a great deal and you act on it now. So have quality deals and promotions, not just a basic bare minimum deal.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and take this forward, Ed. I want to give some people some tips, but we want to focus on those products that do well. But how do you give them a little bit more of a competitive edge if you're not quite sure how to audit your listing or go through any of the nitty-gritty details of it? And I think the first step is a picture test.
Yeah.
I love this test, and I've done it myself. I've done it with friends, family, colleagues, coworkers, everyone. And some people give me a weird look when I ask them these questions. But the test is really simple. What you're going to do is pull up the main image of your product, and then you're going to show it to somebody. I want you to show it to your kids, to your mother, your father, your grandparents, if you can. Show it to all different demographics and have them describe what that product is to you. So Ed, go ahead and tell me, what is this product?
All right. So here we go. So looks like we got toilet paper and it holds it. And then looks like an iPad up top. I got a stand. So I'm going to say toilet paper holder with iPad mount. Final answer.
Absolutely. And that is correct. That's a great description of it. But I think there's some things you missed out on from that picture alone. From the picture, you can't tell that the top actually swivels so that you can turn the iPad portrait or landscape depending upon your needs. And you also can't tell that it's adjustable in height. And if you look at that, you can see the little clasp towards the top. That allows you to extend it or adjust it to any given height. And so those are things that then you can see the consumer or the focus group or whatever you want to call your friends and family were unable to identify that from that picture alone. And so then you can make sure that you're calling those out if they're a benefit, either in the bullet points, perhaps in the title if needed. You can simply put in the word adjustable and it should kind of clarify that for a lot of people. But then you're able to really focus that in on what's working and what's not. And one of the biggest things is you can feed that information back into your listing. If you had described something that I didn't see as a feature or benefit here, I could make sure that I'm including that as an optional use for that. And one of the other things you can do is just check those review photos, like you said. Oftentimes you'll see that people don't always use your product in the sole way you intended. And so then you can appeal to a new audience by maybe updating the images to feature those other uses.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the review photos and even the questions that are asked on a listing, those are really just helping you develop your listing better. They're helping you find out the edge cases and find out other uses for your items that you can just include back into your product detail. Like you can continually add to your listing. Never get set on one, listing optimization just one time through. Do it every so often. Continually go back and see what's changed and what other features you can add to it, because it's going to be ever changing. And that's something you have to always realize when it comes to your listing as a whole.
Yeah, and we love to recommend that you audit your listing at least quarterly. Depending upon sales volume. If it's something very niche, maybe you don't need to as much, but you're definitely going to want to go through an audit and just see what new has surfaced from the way consumers are using it, as well as maybe what's getting a little stale. If the images, a new version of the iPad comes out and it looks totally different, you're going to want to update your photos to reflect that as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. So let's move on to a listing that maybe you shouldn't advertise for Prime Day. Now, we don't know Gilly. We definitely respect Gilly, but a listing like this where it has 1.5 star and it has almost 1,400 customer reviews, this is not something you want to advertise. It's not doing well by itself. It probably doesn't convert at a high rate anymore by itself because of the low rating on the reviews. If it's not working outside of Prime Day, it doesn't make sense to drive extra traffic to it during Prime Day. You don't want this to be your last-ditched effort to try to get this item some traffic. You want to really focus on the ones that are already doing well instead. Yeah,
and that's a great point, Ed. I think sometimes people think just a large audience means they can use Prime Day as a liquidation strategy. And so they just start discounting and featuring any item, but it's really not the best day for that. You're definitely going to want to focus in on products that do convert well, that do have positive social proof. This is definitely not a listing I would focus on.
No. Poor Gilly. It's okay, though. Yeah.
Cool. So what's another lens you can look through to view your listing? And this is one that I personally love as well, Ed. And this is to treat every listing like it's a franchise or an extension of your business. You're going to want to audit across several of them to ensure continuity and consistency and that things actually make sense across the board. If somebody was to come from corporate and visit all of their franchises, they'd want to audit them for, continuous feel.
Yeah.
I know you're a fan of Best Buy. And so when you go into any Best Buy, you feel like you're in a Best Buy.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you feel like you're within that company's walls, whether you're in Santa Fe or you're in Guadalajara. It's all the same, really. And so what you're going to want to do is go through each of your listings and look at the nuances of it. Look at the cleanliness of it. If you're coming into a family of listings or a family listing, and there's differences across all of the different child ASINs that you have within that family, you're going to want to clean those up. That's a great opportunity to make sure things are clean, concise, and appropriate across the board. It's just like your in-store displays at a clothing store. Each of those different displays is a way to feature your product, and each listing is a way to feature the product, and it should be consistent across the board.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, when this comes to people that have a brand, this is huge. You want to have that brand consistency across the board. You want to have that same feel. You want to represent your brand on every listing. They shouldn't be satellite listings where they're all different with different themes and they're built out differently. Some have more information than others. You want to have everything right there on every listing. So then that way, every customer gets to see your brand, piece by piece across all of your active listings. And then they're more enticed by that. They see that you actually are working hard to build your brand. You're working hard to build your presence. And especially for me, it makes me feel like I'm more valued as a customer because I'm buying a quality product from a quality listing. But that's also because I'm a nerd about listings and I analyze them pretty heavily before I buy anything. But that's just me.
No, and Ed, that's very true. And one of the pet peeves that I see personally, it's always irked me. I've seen a number of sellers try it, but they call out, money back guarantee or refunds or anything like that in their bullet points. They're trying to establish trust, but they're really doing it in an ineffective way.
Yeah.
It's kind of like keeping your policies out on the store for display. And so, customers come in and there's just a bunch of policies lying around, but all the merchandise and all the clothes are behind the counter. Yeah. It just doesn't make sense. If you're consistently having an issue, I think you need to rethink the actual underlying problems rather than trying to, remedy that by putting a Band-Aid on it and putting some of that terminology in your bullet points.
Right.
Make sure that your bullets and everything else is on brand. It's concise, it's clean, it's digestible. Don't have those big, long, paragraph bullet points. Make sure it's something that consumers can really quickly skim through and understand what the product is.
Yeah, and once again, guys, this is not just for Prime Day. This is every day of the year. This is something that you should be always monitoring and keeping an eye on to keep up with that consistency. And then especially for Prime Day, especially for times when there's a lot of extra traffic, it's even more important to have this type of consistency across all your listings.
Absolutely, Ed. But this is a great time to audit those top performing listings where you're doing any sort of a deal. At the bare minimum, go review those and audit them. Do the picture test, go through and look at them through the lens of what your brand is trying to convey. Make sure everything's on point. And if you have the time, go do it to your whole catalog.
Yes, yes. All right, so this one's awesome too. This is a good one. So you have all these deals in place, you're excited, you're ready to get some more traffic on Prime Day, but you have to be cognizant of your inventory. If you don't have the product itself to sell, everything else we talked about kind of just falls apart because you can't really do anything after that. And one thing you can kind of ask yourself is, can you handle a 200% sales spike? I think everything varies, of course, depending on what you sell and everything like that. But are you ready to see a large extra rush of traffic and sales in a small amount of time? Can you handle that? Have you prepared ahead of time? Have you gotten more inventory? Do you have some coming in now? Because Prime Day is coming up, and now is the time to do this. You should already kind of be thinking about this, already have some more inventory coming in. You've got to be ready for the sales that you're preparing for. You have to have the backstock. You have to have the inventory to support all these great deals and traffic that you're going to be taking advantage of.
And Ed, I've seen this firsthand personally. We were preparing for a lightning deal. Everything looked good on the surface, and then we ran into an issue at the port. And we knew the container wasn't going to arrive. We knew there was going to be some hiccups. And so we did our best to see if we could adjust our forecast or pricing or anything like that to make it work. But at the end of the day, we had to cancel the lightning deal. We were out of stock before Prime Day even hit. And it was just a really unfortunate series of events. But we didn't forecast out long enough. We didn't start ahead of time. We tried to squeeze something through last minute. And this is why it's so important for you to be working on this right now and possibly even before this webinar, rather than just starting on it in a couple weeks.
Right. Yeah, so when it comes to being cognizant of inventory, just some simple facts you can look at is, if your stock is low, restock now. We've already said this, but we're going to say it again and probably again too, because if your stock is low, restock now. Be ready for this. Don't rush to get this all done. Don't cram before a big test. It's the same thing. Make sure you plan ahead and you have that inventory on the way, or you have it, going through an order process now. So that way it's going to be here when Prime Day does come upon us.
And one of the other things that you should be doing, if you don't already use a tool like this, is use a tool like Quantify. This is a tool that we offer that helps you understand your inventory levels, helps you better forecast and figure out what you're going to need in terms of inventory. Prime Day is always a little bit volatile. Some days it's just blowing you out of the water. Other days it's a little lackluster. But this tool can at least get you set in the right foundation and mindset to go forward with success.
Yeah, and always know which products can handle the extra push. Maybe you have some products that you won't be able to get some inventory in time, but you have some that will. Focus on those. Always focus on the ones that can handle that traffic, that are prepared to see the surge in sales that you may see over Prime Day.
Yeah, and this last point is one that's, a personal, kind of from a personal story here. Don't go changing your fulfillment method at the last minute to try and capitalize on Prime Day. I've done this. And although it seemed successful, it wasn't in the end. And what happened was we had decided that we needed to fulfill from our own warehouse because we didn't have enough inventory at FBA. So we built out all these listings or all these offers to offer from fulfilled by manufacturer. And we were ready to get going and things were looking good. And sales came through like massive amounts. I mean, we weren't ready for the amount of sales we had. And so the very next day, we had all hands in the warehouse packing and prepping orders. And that's from the CEO down to the operations manager to marketing. Everyone was pulled from their day-to-day tasks to go meet the demand that we had built up for ourselves. And so while it seemed successful, then everyone else was backlogged with trying to get back to their typical tasks. So it's just not successful. Put yourself in the CEO seat if you aren't already, and understand that you don't want to be prepping and packing your own boxes because you tried to capitalize on this day unsuccessfully.
And I will say, Brett, if you came to me with that problem, I just say, sorry, I'm sick for the next couple weeks. I'll have to be working from home. So unfortunately, I can't help you with the extra packing and shipping.
We did have a few people call out and a few people with, bad backs only on
Oh,
that
yeah.
day. So yeah.
All right. And this is one that is a huge focus that we believe, especially when it comes to what we do, advertising in general. You need to avoid creating new advertising campaigns on Prime Day. And this is something that I think people overlook. They create a new campaign and they launch it on Prime Day, and they're missing out on a lot of the real ideas behind advertising for Prime Day.
Yeah, and Amazon's not waiting on you. There's hundreds and thousands of sellers going to be doing massive deals and increasing their budgets, and all of that equates to kind of a backlog on Amazon's end in terms of processing all that data.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't expect to squeak something through last minute and get it live and published and your ads actually running. You got to start in advance. And there's several reasons for that, but we recommend you're starting at least 2 weeks before Prime Day with at least some beginning campaigns to get some data funnel through. You can use data you already have within your campaigns, but you're going to want to start them earlier so they can start running and Amazon can start ranking them.
Right, exactly. And just like you said, ads do take longer to start during busy seasons. There's kind of a backlog that they're working through. They have to get through all of those to get them activated and start that process of using that algorithm to find out what the products are to drive that traffic successfully. So since it does take longer, make sure you are, pushing it out and doing it at least 2 weeks before Prime Day.
And one of the other things is if you've launched it just before Prime Day, you're oftentimes going to have some waste in there. You're going to have some terms that you're matching for that aren't great. And so the ads are going to work better once Amazon's ranking them and you've made some initial optimizations. So you want to start a little bit before if you're doing any sort of special campaign for Prime Day. Make sure that you've had an opportunity to go through and review what terms you're matching for, what's being successful and what isn't, so you can better understand how much you want to boost on Prime Day.
Right. And I think that's huge right there. Is a lot of people, like last year and the year before, they started new campaigns and they just skipped the whole optimization step. So they just had a high amount of wasted ad spend because it's more people coming to the site. They're thinking, oh, cool, I'm going to have more traffic. You're going to have more traffic for irrelevant terms and things that just don't convert for you. So by starting them earlier on, you can start that optimization process and clean it up and trim some of that fat. So then when it is Prime Day, it's a lean, a campaign that's leading to better results beforehand. And it just really capitalizes on that during that extra traffic.
And that's not to say, Ed, that you can't go create an exact match, very hyper-focused campaign on brand terms and things like that. But you're still going to want to run it a few days in advance to make sure things are actually operating and you're owning those placements.
Right, because it'd be terrible if you started a new campaign and you're just not bidding competitively enough and you get 0 impressions all of Prime Day, because that'd be very sad. And we don't want that to happen to you guys.
And there's definitely going to be delays with reporting and delays with those suggested bids and things like that. So you got to run it a few days to make sure you have that data.
Mm-hmm. And, something else is increase those budgets ahead of time. You don't want to just wait till the day of and then slowly increase the budgets throughout the day or just wait for them to cap out. Have that prepared ahead of time. And by starting your campaigns earlier on, you can see kind of what trends you normally get when it comes to your advertising. So you can go and play with the budgets on a normal day and see where it caps out, see where you're comfortable with your budget. Then that way you can increase it and have more room that you don't have to worry about when it comes to Prime Day.
Yep. And Ed, you got to be willing to spend. That's one of the things about Prime Day. Cost per clicks are going to increase, and that's the amount you pay per click. On average, they increase across the board. There might be some weird anomalies you guys have seen where they don't, but generally speaking, almost every term I've ever seen increases some during Prime Day and leading up to it as well. So you're going to have to compensate for those increased costs per click by increasing your budget. The second factor to that is there's also an increase in demand, which just compounds the problem and means you really do have to fund it more aggressively.
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, you plan to spend more. Really, when it comes down to it, there's more shoppers, which means more clicks, which means more spend because you pay for all those clicks. So with that increase, you're going to see that increase in spend, and that's okay. Just be ready and willing, understand what you're normally spending, be prepared to see a surge. That's part of it, because hopefully if you've already optimized your campaigns, you'll see a better return as well. You'll see a return coming back from that spend that you had on those campaigns. And Brett, just like you said, be prepared for the time before and after Prime Day. Don't think about, the Prime Day, like the period of time, like the 36 hours or whatever they do normally. Look at the time before and after, because I am one of those people that is clicking on those ads before and after, because I'm still looking at deals. I'm still going through and seeing what was running. There's still people that have those deals and those coupons running before and after Prime Day. It's still a hot time period. And this goes for any other holiday as well. It's not just one day. It's going to be spread out over a few days before and after.
Yep. And oftentimes you can get people clicking those ads and possibly even adding the item to their cart and then just waiting to see, kind of using it as a holding zone or favoriting it. But you got to be focusing on when consumers are actually searching more. And so leading up to Prime Day and right after, there's going to be a lot more eyes on Amazon.
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm one of those guys that adds it to a list. Then I get notified whenever there's a deal on the product as well. And that's also a great tactic too.
We had a question come through, Ed, that I want to touch on is, would we recommend increasing ad spend for the week before and even the week after? And the answer is, generally speaking, yes.
Yeah.
There's going to be eyes on page. There's going to be more people interested. It does depend upon your unique business strategy. Like we said, there's that retail ready checklist. If you don't have inventory, there's no point in trying to capitalize on it aggressively. If you have everything lined up for success, then yes, I would definitely recommend that.
Yeah, go ahead and get some data. Go ahead and, be more aggressive to gain that placement and see what you have to spend to get that top placement beforehand. It kind of gives you a better base that you can then use to double or triple or something of that nature when it comes to Prime Day. Like you're actually on that day, you understand better. I
had this exact situation happen, Ed, where I decided that I was going to buy a TV. It was a great deal. My wife approved it. So I was like, okay, nice. I'll buy it. Nice. I bought the TV. I was very excited. First time, second time TV buyer, haven't always had one, and didn't buy a mount. So I didn't have any way to mount it on the wall. So after Prime Day, I came back and started searching for those mounts. And I'm quite certain I bought from an ad. It was one of the top results. And so you're going to want to be able to capitalize on all those cross-sells, upsells, and any sort of peripheral traffic where somebody decides they need something after they've just bought a big purchase for Prime Day. Yeah.
So let's move into what's next is going to be the best strategy for lightning deals. Now, Brett, I'm going to let you take over on this one because you're the lightning deal man. You're the one that I go to. And actually, after this, I do have a question about lightning deals I want to ask you later on.
Yeah, so of course. Cool. Yeah, so one strategy that we're recommending, and we see this as really advantageous for sellers who are already using Ignite, you're going to want to make sure you're advertising at the right time. Once you have your lightning deal slot, you understand when your deal is going to occur, you're going to want to build out a campaign using day parting or ad scheduling so that you can run ads during the hours when your deal is going on. That way you can capitalize on extra traffic, people searching for those keywords that fit your product. And you're able to refine that budget to a select window of time rather than letting it run out before the deal starts. So let's say your deal's from noon to 6 p.m., Ed, and it's on Prime Day, a lot of peak traffic during those hours. You're going to want to make sure you give yourself a little buffer before and a little bit after. But if you aren't using day parting or ad scheduling, it's very likely you're going to run out of budget before your lightning deal even goes live.
Right.
And I've personally been there where the campaign that I was hoping would be able to last all day ran out, and I had to go ask my boss for a little extra funding so that we can keep running ads later in the day. And so definitely make sure you're using this ad scheduling. The way we would recommend it is at least 2 to 3 hours before and after the lightning deal time slot. That way you can ensure that the ad starts delivering. And you're still going to want to run this a few days in advance. So just set up that time window and run it a few days before and a few days after. And that budget will be restricted only to those hours.
And I do want to point out that ad scheduling or day parting, whichever term you want to use, is available in Ignite. That is something that Ignite does. We use it actually for some of our clients as well. And we may actually be testing this out. Well, I should say using this, not even testing it, but using this for some of our clients that do have a lightning deal running so they can get the best results out of that.
Yep. And one of the other things is target proven terms. Make sure you're going after high converting terms and terms that normally work. This isn't a great time to go after terms where you're hoping to just reach a broader audience by changing your strategy. If you've been focused on mid and long tail terms all along, don't try going after some generalized broad terms unless you really have the capital to fund it. With so many eyes on Amazon during this period, it's difficult to own all that traffic and it's very costly.
Yeah, it really is. And don't go crazy. Don't just be like, you know what, I'm throwing everything at this campaign because it's Prime Day. I'm going to capitalize on it. You're just going to have a lot of wasted ad spend. use what works, guys. Dig into your existing campaigns, go through your search term report, find out what's working and apply that to a new campaign if you make it. Once again, do it way before Prime Day. Just really go with what like has worked in the past. If it's not broken, is that it? You don't have to fix it, right?
Yep.
Okay, I'm really bad at this, by the way.
And Ed, one of the last parts is budgeting. Make sure you've opened up your budgets. Even if you're using that day parting, you can afford to be a little bit more aggressive if you've limited it to a time slot of, say, 6 to 9 hours. You can push it a little bit harder and make sure that even if you don't utilize 100% of your budget, at least you've given it your all during that time slot for that deal.
Yeah. And one question I wanted to ask, the one I wanted to ask you is, Brett, if I'm running a lightning deal, what product or products should I run it on in my inventory? Should I just choose some at random, or is there some type of guide that you have when it comes to running lightning deals?
I would really recommend your best performing items. Amazon will also restrict which ones they allow you to make submissions for. But it's really about making sure that you have a successful sell-through rate and a big enough discount. There's a lot of restrictions that come into place, and if you guys have questions, feel free and reach out to us after this, and we'll give you a little bit better insight on that. But there's a lot of restrictions that come into this, whether or not you can run a lightning deal. But go for your top sellers, go for your hottest items. And for those of you who are curious, lightning deal submissions are already closed. It ended on May 10th. So for Prime Week or Prime Day, it's already done. It's already baked. So you can't do new ones, but you can still use some of these other tactics. And that leads us to this next one, Ed, that I think is a really great tactic if you can't use lightning deals.
Yeah, coupons are awesome. Coupons are great because they're a great way to increase your conversion. They can be very competitive. They can give you that edge that you really need to get those conversions when it is a much higher time of the year when it comes to shopping. There's more people on the site. You have to differentiate. We've already talked about this. Lightning deals are, a little different, of course, when it comes to the discounts. But with coupons, it's for a particular product, and they go a long way. And I will say advertising plus coupons equals success, because then you're driving that traffic to the coupon, and then people are engaging with that and actually purchasing it with that discount.
So a good go-to strategy for coupons, Ed. One of the first things is spreading the word.
Yeah.
You got to make sure that you've informed everyone. So if you have a mailing list and you're running your own e-commerce site, let people know that you're going to be doing this deal. And possibly if you're driving traffic to Amazon, definitely do it. If you're doing your own comparable deal on your own website, make sure that you're at least reaching out and letting know that you're discounting those products around that time frame. Inform your affiliates, any of your partners. Too often you'll see people that they just forget. They've got a blog that's driving a lot of traffic for them and being very successful. Facebook groups, anything like that where people are talking about your product. Make sure that you've shared word that there's going to be this coupon in advance.
Yeah, and definitely, guys, coupons rarely drive traffic. They are there to help people make up their mind to buy the product. They do lead to better conversion, but ads are going to be required for successful coupon deals. Think about, if there's a store and they're giving away coupons inside the store, nobody on the outside knows about it. So you have to use ads to drive traffic into your store to actually get people to engage with those coupons. So the ads will bring people to your listing. They'll see the product, they'll see the discount through the coupon, then that will lead to a higher conversion rate most of the time. So you can't just have just coupons a lot of time. You can, but you won't see a really big change there. Use those ads to get that in front of people more. Expand your audience and get more people to engage with those coupons that you have on your listings.
And Ed, Amazon's always evolving, so there's new pages dedicated to coupons under the daily deals place. And so there's still some extra eyes that might see your product, but a coupon doesn't guarantee that eyes are going to see it. You still have to complement that discount with some sort of a PPC strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one is just make sure you're discounting sufficiently. 5% off might work normally, $5 off a $50 item, something like that. But it's probably not going to be as competitive for Prime Day. It's going to get lost in the noise because there's so many other big deals going on. If you've done things right and you have a modest discount, you should at least be trying to spread that word to make sure you get some extra traffic from third-party sites.
Right. And guys, definitely, if this is your first Prime Day, something else I want to talk about is, view the deals and see what other sellers are doing. Kind of get an idea about what they're doing, gauge what type of deals they're giving out, what type of lightning deals they have, and kind of be prepared for next year. Because I mean, this is just like any other high traffic time on Amazon. During the time, you're planning for the next year when it's going to happen again. So definitely go into Prime Day this year, look around, look at the deals, look at the coupons, and get an idea about what you can do next year if you want to, double down on it again.
Absolutely, Ed.
Awesome. So I think that's everything we have on our end. We do want to go through and actually answer some questions that we saw that came through. Let's see.
I saw quite a few good ones, Ed, but before we get to that, I just wanted to let people know, if you're interested in managed services, if you're interested in getting some help with your advertising or optimizing your listings, go ahead and toss your phone number into the chat, and somebody will be in touch with you to let you know how we can help.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm seeing some awesome questions in here. So let's go ahead. If you want to just fire some off, Ed, we can go through them.
Let's see. I saw a good one that's actually a good marketing one. Why would you use a coupon instead of a reduced price, assuming the reduced price shows a cross out of the original price?
That is it's kind of a gamble. Are you going to guarantee that your reduced price is going to show? Amazon's changed those displays over the year. So I used to use sale price extensively because it would strike out the original price and it would say you're saving X dollars or X percentage. And that was phenomenal. But recently, Amazon's tried to evolve this more because they saw an influx of sellers just using that sale price as their everyday selling price. And so there was no longer any sort of incentive for the customer. It was just, that's the price and it looks better than it really is. So coupons earn you a little bit better display. What they're going to give you is that little orange badge that says what the discount is. It shows in search results. It shows on the product page. It's just a little bit more visibility that there's some savings there. And it's really easy for consumers to just clip that coupon with a single click, and then it's applied to that item in their cart when they check out. They're not too difficult to set up. Definitely, if you guys have more questions about that, let us know.
Yeah. I think coupons are going to be huge this year because I've seen a big uptick in people using those, and I can't wait to see how many people are using those for Prime Day, especially.
Yep. This one, advice regarding competitors who often somehow leave a 1-star review the day before Prime Day, especially with like a leading product. So somebody trying to manipulate those reviews. There's some new restrictions in place, and I would encourage you to go search this on Amazon Help or the reference section. Look for velocity limits and account reviews. Amazon now has some better processes in place to prohibit stuff like this. So they're looking at the actual units sold and the sell-through rate, and then looking at the number of new reviews that have shown up and trying to prohibit people from manipulating it like that. And the other thing is, they're going to have a harder time getting enough fake accounts. I think they're doing a better job of policing. So I think that has been a problem in the past, and I don't foresee it being as big of a problem going forward.
Let's see. So I saw a good one, and I think I lost it. Oh, yes. So as a 3P seller, does your store or product have to be approved for Prime Day? Doesn't have to be approved. This is like a Prime Day is everywhere. It really just takes advantage of all of Amazon. But it is where you have to be more competitive to get your products in front of those people on Amazon. Only thing approved is going to be the lightning deals. And those, like we said, the cutoff was May 10th for that. But any product can be viewed during Prime Day. This is a full Amazon deal that's going on. Like, this is just a way to get people to go to Amazon to see the products and to take advantage of other deals that you may be running. But it is up to you to run those deals and to get that extra incentive for people to buy your products.
Yeah, and if you are brand registered and you have a store, that's another great place to make sure you're paying a little attention to before Prime Day, because you might get some extra traffic coming to your storefront to learn about your brand and all of your offerings. So spruce it up, give it a little polish right before the big event.
So someone asked, how long prior to Prime Day should you add EBC or make listing changes? Guys, I would say now. Like, if you have some changes you've been thinking about, or you see some things that you want to update, do it now to help out with your indexing through Amazon. It does take some time for them to kind of reevaluate what your product is, quote unquote, based on your listing. So by doing it now, it can build you up to change what type of searches you're getting that can lead back to some of those new keywords that you add in there, or some of those new features that you want to put in there for your product. So as soon as possible is going to be the best. Prime Day is coming up, so prepare for it now.
Yep.
Let's see. I think maybe one more?
You pick one. I see a couple in there.
Go ahead. You got this one.
It's a hard call. I see 3 or 4 that I would maybe go with.
Look up here. Sorry, guys. There's a lot, so we're trying to scroll through all of them.
Let's do 2 more. Let's do the in general. Do you have a percentage increase you should apply for bids leading up to Prime Day? There is no one size fits all rule.
No.
I wish there was. I'd just print it out and mail it to all of you. But there really isn't. It's highly dependent on the amount of search volume and the amount of competition, leading up to Prime Day and your product as well. If you're advertising a product that's not as successful, doesn't convert as well as your competitors, you're probably going to have to increase that cost per click a little bit more, or your bid. But if it's something where it's converting pretty well, you might increase that, but your cost per click might not change that drastically. You're actually bidding more, but you're still winning the auction for a similar amount.
Mm-hmm. Did you see one more that you wanted to
do? This one might kind of fall under the realm of something else, but there is a Black Hat webinar coming up on June 5th. So if you guys are looking to dispel some of the myths and understand where the lines are in terms of Amazon's terms of service and selling policies, do make sure and put that in your calendar for June 5th. Sign up for that one, because that's going to have some really good insights into where the lines are with messaging, with any sort of buyer-seller messaging, or contacting your customers.
Yeah, because you want to make sure you are as compliant as possible, especially during a time when there's a lot more people on Amazon. That's when the red flags usually go up. So make sure you tune in for that. And there's going to be some great information.
This is a tough one, but I do want to touch on it. Do you believe variant listings, so like family listings, can reduce revenue if you have competitors with hundreds of individual listings? No. Really, as long as you're getting towards the top, there's a number of benefits. I've had this debate hundreds of times in terms of which is more successful. This is not shelf space at a physical retail store. This is the digital world, and it's far more complex, and there's far more factors that go into it. When you look at the success of a grocery store or any sort of a retail store, oftentimes you're looking at the actual physical space and measuring out how much you're making per unit per spot. So there's slotted fees for Coca-Cola and big brands like that to ensure that they're getting prime placement on store shelves. With digital, that slotted fee really is your PPC. So if you can run a single listing that consistently surfaces towards the top and consistently converts, it doesn't matter if you have 10 of your best sellers in that one listing, or if you have 100 in there. As long as it's working, it's working. Somebody who's going to create hundreds of individual listings is going to quickly see that only 1 or 2 of those work, and they're going to miss out on a lot of traffic, because when people go to a listing and decide it's not right for them, they go to something else.
Yeah.
And oftentimes you're stealing those sales from that competitor who has hundreds of listings. The other thing, go run some ASIN targeting against them and steal some of their sales, because it looks like they don't have a good business model.
Yeah, go after all those other listings. Like just double down on that and make sure
they've given you a ton of more targets to go after. So there's more opportunities. One of the big factors for families too is those reviews are, generally speaking, combined. So you have 2 listings, each with 500 reviews. Now you have 1 listing with 1,000 reviews, and that's tremendous social proof. Versus your competitor who's got 100 listings, each with 10 reviews. You're a behemoth compared to them.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, is there one more? Is that it?
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. So thank you very much for joining us today. Like we said, if you are interested in having someone step in to really help you out with your PPC, we're available. The best way to do that is to put your phone number in the chat, I believe. Is that correct? And we'll have someone reach out to you. So just drop that in there and we'll follow up with you. Brett and I do work with the managed services team. We have a full team behind us as well, and we're all nerds and we love it. So we're always happy to help out anybody. And especially when it comes to Prime Day or anything like that, it's especially fun because it is when you need some of the most help. And so we're always here for that. Also, tune in June 5th for the Black Hat webinar, like Brett was talking about. We are, getting some great content for that together, and that'll be wonderful. Don't want to miss that, especially in preparation for Prime Day. And yeah, thank you guys.
Cool.
Anything else, Brett? Is that it?
No, that's great. Thanks for having me, Ed. As always, it's been great.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much, Brett, for coming by, and thank you guys. And y'all have a wonderful day.
All right, thanks.